Now, when it comes to tackling a project like this, when there's lots of different moving pieces, like there's the whole authentication system, and within that, there's the sign up, the login, the log out. We also have on the to-do side, like we have to be able to create those to-dos, update them, delete them, list them out. There's all these different pieces at play here, and sometimes it's hard to know, like, where should I even start? And to me personally, I like to think of the experience of a user. So if someone came to our site, they can't create to-dos until they have an account, and they can't log into an account or log out until they can sign up. And so for us, that gives us a nice path forward. It's like, okay, first let's implement functionality to sign up, then we can work on log out and then log in, and then we can move into creating to-do objects and then listing them and then updating them. Just if we kind of followed that flow, it will really help us to know where it is we should be moving in our project. So on that vein, let's talk about how we can help someone sign up for an account on our site. So as all things in Django, there has to be a URL for what it is that we're trying to make. So I'm going to do a new path here. And because we kind of have two different URLs that we're working with, we have the authentication stuff and also the to-do things. I'm just going to add a little comment here that says auth up above, not auth password validators, autocomplete killing me here. And then down below, we're going to have the to-dos, okay? And so with that, let's go ahead and make a new path for our sign up page. And I think I'm just going to make it the name of our site /sign up. So I'm going to do sign up / let's go ahead and give the proper view for this. So this is eventually, in fact, let's just import it now. So I'm going to say from to do import views. Okay, so now I can say views dot, and I'll call this the sign up. You're going to see here in a minute why this is important, that we can't necessarily call this just sign up and just login. They're like the functions start to compete with each other. I'm going to call this sign up user, okay? And then I'm going to give the name of that the exact same name. So I'm going to say sign up user. Great. So we have a path in place. So if we go back to our app and do a /sign up, okay, it's not going to load. Well, one, because we don't have the server running. But more than that, we don't have a function in our views called sign up user. So we got to go fix that. So I'm going to copy this name, go open up our app, and it's views.py. So I'm going to make a new function here, sign up user. This is going to take in a request. And we simply, at this point, just want to render back some HTML. So I'm going to say return render. Remember, we pass in that request as the first parameter and then the name of our template. So in this case, we're going to call it to do because that's the name of our app. And then we'll say sign up user.html. Okay. So let's now make an HTML file with this name. So that means we're going to have to right click here. I'm going to do new file /templates /to-do /signupuser.html. Remember that folder structure that we use so that we have it within the templates and then the name of the app. Then we have this sign up user, and for the time being, I'm just going to display sign up. So I'm going to save this, save the views.py. Let's go back to the browser, reload, and look at that. We have the sign up showing up here. Okay. So the next step for us is how do we show that whole, login form? Like how do we, say, hey, here's where you should enter in your username and your password and then confirm it. Well, the thing is, Django has a starting place for us to get this out really quickly. And I think we should take advantage of it here because, again, we want to go through the process of building the site out completely functionally and then going back and adding design to it to make it really look amazing. So let's go ahead and just get up to speed as quick as possible. We may have to change this later to make things look better. But for the time being, if we go back to our views, let's go to our views.py here. Okay, we're already there. We're going to pass forward a form. Now, up to this point, we've been creating all of our forms, but we can actually take advantage of Django Forms, which is a whole topic in and of itself, but you'll see how powerful it is here, okay? So the first thing that we're going to want to do with this is we're going to have to import the code to get this form. So just from my notes here, we're going to have to go up at the top and import, say, from, and then we want to do lowercase Django dot contrib dot auth dot forms, okay? And then we're going to say import, and then we want capital user, capital creation, capital form. So what this code allows us to do is say, all right, let's go ahead and create some sort of form and pass it forward to the template. So I'm just going to do a comma here in the render, pass forward a dictionary where I have like a form, for instance, and then the value of this is just going to be a new user creation form object. So you have to have the open and closed parentheses. So we'll go ahead and save this. And now if we move over to our template, so signupuser.html, if we simply just say inside of the double brackets here, form, look how amazing this is. So I'm just going to save this. I'm going to come back, reload this page, and holy smokes, like I said, this gets us up and running quickly. There's all these things, like it says, here's where you can enter a username, a password confirmation, and there's even some notes in here, like this has to be X amount of characters, and your password's got to do X, Y, and Z, all these things. Now, it's kind of funny, it says these things, although these don't actually apply. You have to do a little bit of extra work if you wanted to apply these rules. But it's just kind of interesting that they get us up to that point. And with these forms, you can actually control the styling a little bit. Like this looks okay, but we can really make it look a lot better with just a little bit of work. Again, we're not doing a ton of design, but if you do a .as_p, it wraps a lot of this in paragraph tags, which now when you reload, oh, okay, these things are more separated on their own lines. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with. So with this in place, let's just add a little bit more here. So I'm going to start first by saying that this is the sign up page. So I'm going to do an H1, okay, ending H1 tag, and I'm going to say sign up. And then really important here, what we're going to do is we're going to put a new form tag here, and we're going to open it there, close it afterwards, and we're going to specify that this form is going to be a post. So we're going to say method equal to all caps post. Now this is interesting because in our last site, we didn't have any forms. Like technically we used the forms that were in the admin, but we didn't have to custom make any of those. But if you remember the very first site, we did create one of our own forms, but the method that we used was a get. And you're going to see the difference between a get and a post here in a second, but this one's going to be a post, and you'll see why that's so key. Also, as part of this, we need to have a button so that people can submit this information. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new button here. Okay, let's have an opening and closing there for this button. And I'm going to put the name that will maybe say like sign up. And we have to specify here that the type is a submit button. And the reason that that's important is if you have any button or input inside of a form that is of type submit, that means if someone is currently in that form, like their cursor is on like one of these paths and they, hit enter, it's going to submit that form for you. So we got to make sure that we have that there. There's one last piece that we need here, but I think it's going to be a little bit easier for it to see it once we just get the error for it. So save what we have now, come back, reload this page. So, oh, nice, we get that title, we get that button. So let's go ahead and put a name. I'll say Nick, and I'll just pick some sort of password. I'm just putting gibberish in here, and I'm going to say sign up. Now, like I said, we get this error here, and this is a CSRF token missing. So as it says here, this is the cross-site request forgery protection here, that basically there's some issues where if you have different plugins on your website, as far as I understand this, I'm not an expert on this by any means, but if you have iframes of different things on your website, they could potentially take advantage of forms on your website, but by having the CSRF token, it can help you. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to copy what we have here. Just is saying, hey, inside of your form, you've got to provide this CSRF token. We're going to come back to the code and just paste it. It's just going to go anywhere inside of the form. It's a hidden thing. It's just part of it is we have to have that there. So we're going to hit save, come back, reload this page, and I'm just gonna hit enter so that we can kind of get a fresh new page. So I'm gonna say Nick, some gibberish passwords, sign up. And now you can see we have no error, but nothing really happened here. And the reason for that is what happened was when we hit the sign up button, that essentially, this is the button that submit inside of our app. And what it does is it says, I'm going to submit this form. And this form says, I'm doing a post. Now, if you add an action, you can say that you want it to go submit this to some URL. But in our case, we're just going to use the same URL that we have, the sign up URL. And so it does a post to that. So I talked about before, in the first site, we used a form with a get, and this time we're using a post. What's the difference between the two? Well, a post also sends forward information to a URL, but it keeps it hidden insofar as not part of the URL. It submits it separately. So the reason that this is important is if someone's submitting their username and, more importantly, their password, because like before, when we were doing the password generator, right? Like it would say up at the top in the URL how long they wanted their password to be, whether to include numbers or not. And that was kind of cool to see that in the URL. But if someone submits a password and their password is showing up on the URL, that's not really a good thing. Like that's something that should stay as hidden as possible, right? Like we still have to take it, save it into our database, all that good stuff. But it's not good to have that displayed. So the big difference between a get and a post is the post is going to not put any information up in the URL. The next thing is that between a get and a post is basically the idea is that a get is whenever you're sort of displaying information, you're reading something, maybe it's out of a database, that's totally fine. Whereas a post is saying that you're going to create something or take some sort of action. You'll see later when we do like updates and deletes that we're going to be using the post. Now, technically, there's different types, like it's not just get and post, there's also update, delete, put. There's a whole list of them out there, but you can really get by pretty far with get and post. So, and those really become more important if you're creating APIs. That's where you would see more of those different types there. But for what we're working with here, the question is, okay, if someone posts this data back to the same URL, how do we access it? Well, it's here inside of the views. So when someone comes to this URL, the sign up user, which is just the name of our website /signup, the question is it a get or a post? And how do we handle that situation? Let's talk about that in the next one.